He was ready to see his daughter as soon as he was released from prison, but the driver of the black car that carried him across the border wanted to start the price.
Where's the money?
You've already been paid.
I want everything.
The driver has a helper. Obviously, they have many such things.
I don't think so.
Chris didn't waste much effort. Easily deal with these two greedy guys. Pick up luggage on the ground. Touch the key from the driver's pocket. This is a waste of time. Or he came to the city where his daughter is. Hide outside a villa. Draw photo soon. Rock drove out of the villa with the old short girl sent Lisa. Soon after, the car carrying the black boss Vincent's daughter Lisa out of the villa. After seeing the other party go away, Chris follows, chasing it all the way to the street. When he was waiting for the traffic light, he saw a homeless man who wiped glass for others. I had an idea in my mind instantly. So when waiting for the traffic light at the next intersection, he also pretended to be a homeless man and came to the other person's car. Start wiping the glass in a good manner. The bodyguard in the car kept signaling that it was not necessary. Chris seems to have not seen it. Continue to move in your hands. After finishing, knock on the glass and ask the bodyguard to pay. Seeing the bodyguard indifferent, he raised his hand and knocked off the car's rearview mirror. The bodyguard gets off the car and wants to ask for an explanation. Lisa took the opportunity to get out of the car and ran away. After losing the bodyguard's ability, Chris immediately drove their car and chased after him. Not long after, I stopped Lisa. Lisa is a little panicked, running in the opposite direction at a loss. Chris chased after her and caught her back, stuffed into the trunk of the car. Rush out the second before the bodyguard arrived. Vincent was very angry after learning that his daughter was kidnapped. I can't imagine who would have such courage. He dared to kidnap his daughter, but then the bodyguard described the murderer's vague appearance. He was even more angry. Unceremoniously, he smashed the stick on him. Vincent asked his men to spread the news. Clues to issue a reward order to find a daughter. But I don't know that Chris will drive Lisa and leave the city soon. Lisa was very dishonest along the way. Keep knocking on the trunk. Chris had no choice but to stop the car, ready to open the trunk to warn her.
Hey! I just want to talk to you, okay?
The two chased each other and came to the depths of the forest. Chris says he has no malice, just want to talk to her. To prove that what I said is true, he also took out a photo. It was a photo with Lisa's parents. Lisa's face was shocked when she saw the photo. She couldn't believe that her parents' friends would treat her like this. Chris said he had no choice but to.
Your mother, she sent me here to come get you.
Bullshit. Your mother has been dead for 5 years.
I know. Your mother made me promise, if anything ever happened to her, that I would find you and I would come and take you away from Vicente.
Chris said so much, but Lisa still didn't let her be prepared. I had no choice but to draw out the weapon and hand it over to the other party. This is his sincerity. Lisa doesn't believe there is a bullet in the gun at all.
Pull the trigger. Jesus Christ! Hey, you believe me now?
Now get back in the car. Right now.
Lisa changed her mind as soon as she got on the car. Ask Chris to turn around and send him back immediately. Or shoot. Chris obviously won't do that. I don't believe Lisa will shoot, but this time he miscalculated. Lisa really pulled the trigger. Fortunately, there are no bullets in the gun. Only the firing needle is futile to fire. He turned his head and roared at Lisa. Lisa responded loudly without being outdone. The narrow carriage was filled with the smell of gunpowder in an instant. But the car issued an inappropriate alarm for fuel. Chris beat the steering wheel so much that he vented his anger. However, just as Chris got out of the car and refueled, Lisa looked at the crowd not far away who was repairing the car. While Chris was not paying attention, he pushed the door and ran out, still shouting for help. Chris was surrounded by the crowd as soon as he chased him. Lisa ran to the payphone. She wants to inform her father to come and save her. Chris tried his best to explain, but no one believed what he said. The battle between the two sides inspires.
Don't!
While he was putting everyone down, Lisa also contacted her father. Vincent just wanted to ask where his daughter was. Their call was forcibly interrupted by Chris. Lisa was stuffed back into the car. To prevent her from making trouble again, Chris tied her hands. But this didn't calm her down. Chris warned her to be honest. Otherwise, keep locking her in the trunk.
Who are you to tell me what to do, fuck?
I'm your father!
This sentence was very slow. Lisa was stunned on the spot. Chris says she is her biological father. Lisa doesn't believe it. But no matter how much I make trouble along the way, Chris didn't move. Maybe what he said might be true. Chris took her to a restaurant. Lisa rarely has no resistance, even though I know my daughter is still alive, but there's no clue where it is. Vincent is anxious, but I didn't know that the assistant secretly revealed the news to the hostile killer Corvo. I don't know why back then. Vincent causes Corvo to be seriously injured, even lost an arm. Since then, the two have been in the same state as the same water and fire. Assistant just happens to have the idea of replacing Vincent as the gang boss, so I wanted to take this opportunity. Let Corvo hold Lisa hostage and kill Vincent, finally clearing obstacles for yourself. What a careful calculation. She asked Chris during the meal, since you said it was my father. But where have you been going for so many years? Chris is a little embarrassed, but in the end, I told Lisa that she had been in jail. But when Lisa asked him why, Chris didn't say. Instead, he looked at the diamond necklace on her neck. That was given to her by herself on her mother's birthday back then. Hearing Chris discussing his mother, the feeling of missing comes to my heart instantly. She didn't understand why her mother committed suicide back then, but Chris said it wasn't. Her mother is likely to be killed by Vincent. Unexpectedly, Chris's words ignited Lisa. She felt Chris was cheating on herself. Vincent couldn't have happened like this. However, the words just fell. The sound of bullets loading suddenly sounded beside me. A group of fully armed people appeared. They all came for Vincent's bounty. The purpose is obviously to kill Chris and take Lisa away.
Tell him the safety's on. ¿Qué dijo?
El seguro está puesto.
Chris is tangling with the thug. Lisa was forcibly taken out of the door to prevent Chris from chasing. He lifted his gun and exploded his tire. Wait until Chris rushed out. The other party has already driven away. He was so angry that he smashed the car keys hard on the ground. Soon after, they took Lisa to the destination of a gangster leader. After handing Lisa to that man, yeah, big reward. Wait until several people leave. Moana tells Vincent the news of finding Lisa. Then he handed the phone to Lisa. After confirming that Lisa is fine, Vincent asked him to wait for him to arrive soon. But Lisa is not in a hurry. Instead, I asked Vincent if it was related to his mother's death. This question left Vincent standing there on the spot. But after a brief thought, the question of denying his daughter, she said she did everything he could do for her mother. But I don't know why he committed suicide.
I loved her like I love you. ¿Por qué preguntas eso, mi amor?
He says that he's my real father.
If you want to say what he asked just now, he was just shocked. Then this question is definitely a bolt from the blue. Lisa just wanted to ask. A gunshot came from his ears. Buona checked the surveillance. I found someone was slaughtering my younger brother in order not to let others take away their ransom. He hid Lisa. The person who came was the murderer Corvo, although he has lost one hand now, but the combat effectiveness has increased instead of decreasing. The ferocity is far more fierce than before. Killing people is like cutting grass and cutting wheat. No psychological burden. Dozens of Buona's men. No one is his enemy. Buona was frightened by the other party's formation, returned to the room to prepare for call support, but Lisa knocked out of the ornament. Buona's subordinates outside have been killed by Corvo. Almost impossible to organize an effective attack. Lisa picks up Buona's gun, want to sneak attack Corvo from behind, but accidentally discovered by the other party. Corvo intends to catch Lisa, but he bumped into the late Chris. The two of them didn't say a word of nonsense. They started to fight when they met. Chris reacted and speeded obviously faster, but I can't stand Corvo has a fist made of cold iron. He punched the other person a few times and it was okay, but the other party only has one punch to drink several pots. No way to resist. Corvo, who wanted to do it, turned his head and chased Lisa. Lisa turned around and ran. After arriving at the rooftop, I realized that there was no way in front of me. Corvo has arrived at this time. It looks like a dead end no matter how you look, but the next second Chris rushed out. After ramming into Corvo, the two broke through the window together, crashed on the roof of the car on the first floor. As soon as they got up, they were intensely stormed by Buona. The bullet hit the surroundings like money. Along with the splashing sparks, a crisp collision sound. Chris is in the rain of bullets. Jump out of the window to avoid the opponent's sharp edge. Buona turned his head and swept a few times at Corvo. The sound of mechanical impact came from the gun. Apparently, there was no bullet. Corvo came over, removed the prosthesis, slide through Buona's artery with an intrinsic weapon, walked out without looking back. Lisa is brave. This collision has won them a chance. The two of them ran away without stopping. However, they had just left not long ago. Vincent brought his people there, but it was still one step late, with corpses all over the ground. No one is spared and all are fatal. On the surveillance screen in Buona office, Vincent saw Corvo. The haze this man left him is still vivid in my mind. It will be even more difficult to save my daughter now. After Chris escaped with Lisa, I wanted to talk about her past with her mother, but when a topic involved Vincent, they started arguing again. Lisa still thinks that her mother's death has nothing to do with Vincent, even if Chris tells her, I was in prison for 15 years because of Vincent. But Lisa still believes in Vincent. Instead, I think Chris is talking nonsense. Chris also knows that he wants Lisa to see Vincent thoroughly. You have to come up with substantial evidence. So on the way out, he told Lisa something about the past three of them. They had a very good relationship at that time. I'm very tacit in doing things, and I'll grab the bank together, stealing cultural relics and antiques together, never negligently. But when Chris panicked after learning that Lisa was there, they have been splurges before, no savings. So to make Lisa born smoothly, after discussing, several people decided to make the last vote. Then he hid his name by washing his hands. As before, this mission went smoothly. The money you get is enough to make them live happily for a lifetime.
How do you get caught?
He set me up.
Who?
Vicente. Left a trail of breadcrumbs straight to my door. Next thing I know, I'm doing 15 years of being ghosted by the woman I loved.
That's seriously fucked up. But that doesn't mean he killed her.
Until this moment, Lisa still believes Vincent won't hurt her mother. The two of them had a bad chat. Corvo woke up shortly afterwards from the vehicle that hit him, following him to the nearby bathroom. Even though the impact is not fatal, but he still tore a wound on his forehead. He calmly took out the needle and thread and stitched the flesh. It looks like he is just repairing one. Mechanical parts, without temperature. This extraordinary calm? Much more chilling than bleeding wounds. Just after treatment, walked out of the bathroom. Corvo heard two gangsters in a car next to him pointing at him. Corvo wasn't angry, walked slowly to them.
Hey guys, having a good time?
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm gonna need your car.
What? Do you need my car? Go fuck yourself, frackin' freak.
Obviously, the two gangsters didn't realize it at all. There was a demon standing in front of them. Resolve the weapon and get off the car and choose it, and you want to bully the less. Think it's a king, even a bronze. Corvo has a car easily. Then he started driving to find Chris and Lisa. Until late at night, Chris is in order to protect Lisa, steal a car on the side of the road, planning to take her to her sister's house in the United States to take refuge. Although living conditions will be worse than before, but at least one life can be saved. But Lisa refused. Here are her favorite schools and good friends, and her vision for the future. Besides, Vincent treats her very well. She just wants to stay here and never want to go anywhere. Even took the opportunity to criticize Chris.
Are you just going to dope me on my aunts? Leave again, not even try to be a good father!
Chris looked at the stubborn Lisa for a moment of speech, full of worry, but can't start. However, the owner of the car came back at this time. Lisa jumped out of the car despite his obstacles. Chris, who was on fire, pointed his gun at the owner, but Lisa took the opportunity to get into the car, just drove the owner away. Lisa rushed out by the accelerator. Chris wants to stop it, but how could two legs run through four wheels? He was so angry that he could only roar on the spot. Just when I was at a loss, I found a car approaching. Chris ran over to stop him, but the driver had no intention of stopping. When Chris turned over and avoided, I vaguely realized that the other party was not in good intentions. The car and the rubber eye disappeared at the end of the road. After Lisa was far enough away from Chris, I found a car parked on the side of the road. Want to notify Vincent to come and pick him up. She also noticed the yellow vehicle that appeared. I thought the other party was just passing by. I didn't care and continued to make phone calls on my own. However, after seeing the person in the car clearly, she finally panicked, turned around and run away. Corvo followed closely. Lisa found the tool and hid it, preparing to attack Corvo, but there is no suspense in the end. She completely underestimated this murderous swordsman. Not something she can handle, a little girl. Corvo had a quirk. Each time before killing the target, they will hand the other person an apple, and this time is no exception. Lisa mustered up the courage to take over apple. Take a bite hard. Corvo watched Lisa chew with pleasure, but then Lisa's eyes changed.
Fuck you, psycho!
Lisa ran all the way to get rid of Corvo. At this moment, she suddenly heard Chris's shout. It was like grabbing a life-saving straw in an instant. However, the moment he saw Chris, Corvo also appeared behind her at the same time. Corvo said nothing. Started to Chris. Bullets hit the surrounding objects and shot countless sparks. Chris also seized the opportunity to fight back, a seemingly even shot. In fact, Corvo took the initiative. Wait until Chris gets up again. Lisa has become a hostage to Corvo. The whole person was frightened and trembled. Chris, who lost the initiative, could only throw away the weapons in his hand. No weapons. The two became a piece of meat on each other's chopping board. Corvo tied Lisa to the car with a rope. Then he tied up Chris again. Catch Chris. Another stock knocked him down. Corvo wanted to know, who is the person who frequently prevents him from catching Lisa?
Who are you? Fuck you, freak. Who are you? Who are you?
He's my father!
Vicente is your father.
No. He's my real father.
Corvo was surprised when he heard this news. After looking at Chris, knock him out. When Chris appears again in the camera, already hung on a big banyan tree in front of the church. Not long after, Vincent rushed over. Apparently Corvo informed him. Two brothers who once said nothing. Now he has become an enemy who wishes to crush the other party's bones and throws them into ashes. Vincent wanted to kill Chris. In his opinion, Chris's existence will only affect his relationship with Lisa. But think about it the other way around. Maybe he might be useful next. So he let his subordinates put Chris down. On the way back, Vincent received a call from Corvo. Let him come to where he cut his arm. Where is his daughter?
Before I forget, please say thanks to your right-hand man for telling me that the girl was in play.
Vincent heard this news a little angry. Draw out the weapon and kill the assistant with one shot. He never rude to the betrayer. Chris is curious about the grudge between the two. Vincent said slowly. He hired Corvo to perform missions back then. Unexpectedly, the other party acted beyond the boundaries, exposed key information, causing him to fall into crisis. Afterwards, Vincent sent 15 elite men to encircle Corvo. All 15 people die. Corvo lost an arm. Now he has become the terrifying undead demon in the killer world. Hands covered with blood. Chris's expression became more and more serious after hearing this. The vehicle arrived at the agreed location soon. Vincent divided his men into 3 teams. Search for the whereabouts of his daughter separately. Chris touched the abandoned factory alone. However, Vincent's men were vulnerable. After only a few screams, there was no movement. Vincent rushed to this sound. I saw a husband of my subordinates. There was still one hanging above his head. He had just put down his house body. Corvo's sharp blade hit his neck. Corvo escorts Vincent through the remote path. Meet Lisa, who was imprisoned here. The father and daughter were very excited, but then Vincent saw the iron chain welded to Lisa's wrists. A sharp saw was hanging on the side. Corvo starts the switch, and the chain begins to tighten slowly. Lisa's screams caught Chris's attention, but it also revealed its whereabouts. Corvo raised his gun to chase, and the two of them fell into a melee. This is their chance to get entangled. Vincent rushed toward the top of the conveyor belt, trying to shut down the machine. However, when he got closer, he realized at the end of the conveyor belt is a huge crusher. He tried to press all the switches in frantically, but there was no reaction at all. Still running normally. I found another iron stick to try to get stuck in the machine. Still useless. In despair, he had to pick up the saw. Prepare to saw off your daughter's arm to save your life, but after several attempts, I still couldn't make it. The other side. Chris and Corvo's battle is getting more intense. Chris is agile, but I can't stand Corvo's mechanical iron fists.
You think Vicente killed Leonor? He hired me to make her disappear. I enjoy it.
Chris was even more angry when he heard this. It's even more sharp and violent. Anger made Chris completely give up defense and fight for life. Even if you're hit, you will not retreat, just blindly attacking. Both of them tried their best. All moves are greeted to the other party's vital points. After defeating Corvo, Chris ran towards Lisa immediately. But how could Corvo stop easily? He reacted immediately, chasing you, and Chris continued to fight. Chris is anxious. A flying N made the opponent back, continue to rush towards Lisa next to the crusher. Corvo followed closely behind like a gangrene on his bones. When Chris arrived, Lisa's body was dragged to the edge of the crusher by a chain. At the critical moment, Corvo is chasing him. Chris has to be forced to fight. The sharp blade pierced Chris' abdomen in the fight. Corvo kicked him over. Chris completely lost his power to resist. Lisa cried heartbrokenly. Corvo turned to Vincent, put the dagger between his throats.
Tell her what you did, and I'll tell you how to stop the crane.
Amor, bebé mío, perdóname. Yo traté de parar a tu mamá que te quería llevar de mí. Was going to separate me from you. Yo no lo podía permitir, mi amor. I pay you to kill her. Are you happy now?
Vincent's words added a little despair to Lisa's fearful eyes. Seeing that the crusher was about to swallow Lisa, Corvo told Vincent that the switch was on the first floor. Obviously, it's too late. But at this moment of crisis...
Lisa! Diamonds! The diamonds!
The hard diamond bites the chain. Lisa escapes danger smoothly. Corvo saw this, furiously knocked Vincent over with one punch. Grab Lisa. I planned to force her into the terrifying machine. Chris endured the severe pain when he saw the scene, running up and pounced on Corvo. Want to stop this? The two of them pushed and rubbed violently, retreating all the way to the edge of the guardrail. Corvo attempts to push Chris off the stage, but I didn't notice Vincent leaned over. The two fell heavily together. Life and death are uncertain. Chris, who is covered in scars but still thinking about his own safety. Lisa finally got happy, confessed his inner feelings. At this moment, she felt deeply. This man protects himself, have already put life and death aside. At the end of the story, Lisa and Chris come to the cemetery, commemorating her mother. Although Chris was seriously injured, but he survived miraculously. Maybe it's the spring of fate. I can't bear to separate again from the father and daughter who had just reunited. I believe that next, the father and daughter will definitely depend on each other. Start a new happy life. The lens is turned back to the abandoned factory. Only Vincent's cold house remains on the ground. It indicates that this grudge may continue. Let's look forward to the exciting plot of the next movie.